Being a hypocrite can still be a good business move for you if it leads to other ventures in which you're able to make money. I don't think anyone's going to argue that. And I think at the end of the day, everyone to some sort of degree is indeed a hypocrite. They've said something that maybe they felt at the time or maybe didn't even necessarily mean. And over time, things change. When I look at the CM Punk returning to WWE situation, at first it's very easily said that yes, this man is just a hypocrite, because at the end of the day, everything he stood for, everything that he preached about for the past 10 plus years about how WWE was a terrible place because of this, that, and the other. They weren't using talent right. Triple H was a horrible individual. Go get your Saudi Arabia money. All of this sort of stuff. For him just to waltz back into the company after a very jilted stint with AEW speaks volumes about CM Punk. And when you look at CM Punk, he's always been sort of a counterculture icon ever really since like the ROH days. Obviously, he worked the indies a bunch before ROH, but ROH was kind of like his big moment, his big sort of coming out moment. That, of course, is what got the WWE initially interested in him. And he was seen as like this renegade, this person that, you know, was essentially a punk rock mantra. They weren't going to conform to what certain rules and certain restrictions that other people were going to conform to. They were going to march to the beat of their own drum. And I feel like a lot of people resonated with that. Anyone who sort of goes against the grain really saw CM Punk as an icon. But CM Punk is a hypocrite, 100%, but it's Phil Brooks. Because the more I look at this situation, the more I kind of look at his AEW stint, the more I look at the promo that he cut at the time of the filming of this video last night on WWE Raw, that I actually sat through the entire episode to watch and then was severely disappointed with the promo he cut, the more I realize that yes, CM Punk is a hypocrite, but I don't know that Phil Brooks himself is a hypocrite, because everything we've learned about CM Punk, has it really been what Phil Brooks felt? Has it really been how Phil Brooks perceived the wrestling industry, or was it just a character? When you look at when he returned to AEW versus when he returned to WWE, there's lots of different tropes that were across the board here. Talking about things like I'm here to make money. Talking about things like I'm home. You know, it was pretty much a recycled version of at least one of his AEW return promos. And it really got me thinking about how CM Punk is the hypocrite, but I don't think Phil Brooks is. Look back at some of the things that he said about older talent, or even the whole Kevin Nash situation. The old guy coming in to get a quick paycheck. CM Punk isn't exactly a young blue chipper anymore. The man is 45 years old. He obviously doesn't move quite as well as he used to, as we saw in his AEW tenure. He's a little bit more fragile around the edges because that's what Father Time will do to people. And a lot of people don't seem to be able to differentiate CM Punk, the character, from Phil Brooks, the individual, because I think this has always been Phil Brooks. I feel like the individual has always been willing to do business, is always looking for someone who's willing to give him the highest bid. And sometimes he will swallow his pride and go along with a storyline or a situation that you wouldn't necessarily expect him to be involved in or to even care about. And I feel like the problem is people have assimilated the character with the man, thinking that they are one and the same because of how he presents himself, how he conducts himself online, the stories you hear about him, the shoot interviews. But I don't think that was ever really the case. The more and more I think about it, the more and more I start to realize that CM Punk is a facade. You know, people thought this was a throwback sort of character to the people who literally live their gimmick and still live their gimmick nowadays, the golden era of WWF talent. And people saw CM Punk as sort of a modern version of that sort of thing. You live and die by your gimmick. But I think that was a false narrative that people themselves came up with this situation. If CM Punk is happy to be within the WWE, then you know what? It's cool, man. At the end of the day, it's the wrestling business, not the wrestling friendship industry. People are here to make money. It's just like any other sort of business when you're at a successful level. You're not here to necessarily make a bunch of friends. You're not here to do things for other people. You're here to do things for yourself, for your family, for your wallet, for your financial future. And I feel like a lot of people misconstrue that. A lot of people sort of can't read between the lines with a situation like that. You could say whatever about his recent firing from AEW, the Jack Perry situation, the Tony Khan situation, but maybe that was a calculated move. Maybe there was a reason he felt that he could do that. Maybe he didn't want to be there anymore. Maybe he felt like his time was up at AEW and he saw the writing on the wall and wanted to return home to the WWE. When you look at the amount of wrestlers who have burned the WWE bridge but managed to come back, people like Bret the Hitman Hart, who was swearing up and down that he hated everyone there, still came back. Ultimate Warrior, someone who once again said that he hated the company and hated the people there, still came back. The door is always open for a legend. The door is always open for any wrestler who made a significant impact, because wrestling at the end of the day is the most carny industry in the world. There's a reason why it's a carny industry, because it's a money-driven industry. Yes, there's passion on the smaller levels. Yes, people have passion when they first get into the business. But at some point in time, if this is what's going to be your focal point, this is what is your livelihood, you're probably going to be a hypocrite at some point in time. You're probably going to step back on your word at some point in time in order to get that paycheck, in order to secure your financial future for yourself, for your spouse or loved one, or whoever it may be. So I feel like people just got mixed up in it. You know, people really felt like this is what he believed and this is what he felt. They didn't think he was a carny. And this happens with a lot of wrestlers where they don't realize that even when they're working, they're still shooting. Even when they're shooting, they're still working. Think about the pipe bomb. That was obviously a planned promotion that he did when he sat down on the stage and did his little spiel that made him the voice of the voiceless. It was a planned situation. The WWE would have cut to a commercial, cut off his microphone, done a myriad of things if that wasn't part of the program. I don't know, man. I feel like, you know, I've made jokes about Punk coming back, but I feel like this is always who he's been. This is always who he was. And people just bought into the gimmick instead of buying into the individual without realizing that, yes, there is a divide between those two people. Every wrestler has that personal side to them that might be a bit different than their work side. Are you the same person when you go to work that you are at home, around your friends, around your family and stuff like that? I doubt it. Does that make you a hypocrite? Probably. But is that necessarily a bad thing? Depends who you ask. For me personally, I don't really think so. I think that's just the way the world works. Thank you for visiting me here on RGT Extras. I'll catch you on the next one. Later.